There are empires that live only in books. And then there is Rome. The Roman Empire does not rest in the past. It breathes through marble ruins. It echoes in legal codes. It haunts political dreams. It was not just a kingdom of land and conquest, but an architecture of the human psyche, a symbol of glory, power, ambition, and collapse. Its stories are not ancient. They are archetypes. What happens when a civilization believes itself to be immortal? When discipline becomes dogma, when expansion becomes obsession, and when greatness unchecked begins to consume itself. We do not turn to tarot to rewrite history, we turn to it to feel the pulse beneath its skin. Because tarot is not bound by time. The cards do not care about centuries. They speak the language of rise and fall, of cause and consequence, of hidden truth behind the polished myths. So we ask, if the Roman Empire in all its magnificence and madness were to sit at a tarot table, what 5 cards would it draw? What stories would emerge between conquest and collapse? What lessons would flicker in the flames of its forgotten temples? This is not a reading of nostalgia, it is a ritual of reckoning, because the Roman Empire may have fallen, but its shadow still walks beside us. The Emperor upright, foundations of power. When Rome first emerged from the mists of tribal Italy, it did not do so with chaos, but with vision. And no card embodies that vision more clearly than the Emperor, the archetype of structure, law, sovereignty, and enduring order. To draw the Emperor as the root of Rome is to acknowledge that this was not a civilization built on accident. It was built on design, deliberate, calculated, unshakable. The Roman Republic and later the Empire were more than political entities. They were systems of absolute civic discipline.
Legions marched not just because they were ordered to, but because they trusted the empire's spine, its law, its hierarchy, its promise that strength and order would bring immortality.
The Emperor is the card of the father, the architect, the unyielding ruler who lays stone upon stone and commands that the world take shape beneath his rule. And Rome did exactly that. From the grid-lined streets of its cities to the concrete marvels of its aqueducts and amphitheaters, this was civilization forged by control. And yet the Emperor is not only about power, it is about legitimacy. Rome did not merely seize land, it declared itself divinely ordained heirs to Mars, sons of the gods. Its emperors wore laurels not just as symbols of victory, but of sacred authority. But there is a shadow to this card. When the Emperor is too strong, too unquestioned, he stops evolving. He becomes stagnant, a statue, not a man. He fears change, and so he clings tighter to control, tightening the grip until it cracks the very marble he stands upon. In early Rome, the values of virtue, virtus, duty, pietas, and discipline, disciplina, were exalted. But the emperor's energy left unchecked breeds tyranny. As republic turned to empire and emperors turned to gods, the very structure that gave Rome strength began to strangle it.
Still, this card stands not in judgment, but in clarity.
The Emperor is the perfect beginning, a card of foundations, intention, and strength. But it is also the reminder that what is built to last must also be built to bend. And Rome, in its early glory, believed it never would. This card whispers through the ruins. What you build with order, honor it with wisdom. or it will outlive you, but not remembered you kindly. The chariot upright, the drive to conquer. If the emperor built the empire, then the chariot rode it across the world. There is a moment in every great civilization when order becomes hunger, when structure gives way to expansion, when the question shifts from how to rule what we have to how much more can we take. The chariot is that moment, glorious, blinding, unstoppable. In Rome's timeline, the chariot rides in with the thunder of triumph. The Punic Wars, the conquests of Greece, Gaul, Britannia, and Egypt, all under the banner of Roman destiny. Victory after victory. The streets paved with gold, the generals bathed in laurel wreaths. Rome did not just march, it absorbed, assimilated, rebranded the world in its own image. The chariot represents willpower, direction, and speed, but its momentum often depends on what it's trying to outrun. Beneath the splendor of Rome's outward charge was something more fragile: fear of weakness. The need to prove superiority. The chariot does not stop to reflect. It moves forward, or it risks collapse. For Rome, this meant constant warfare, not out of necessity, but because peace would have meant facing the internal fractures already forming. Just as the charioteer in the tarot must balance two opposing forces, black and white sphinxes, Rome was always at war with itself. Republican ideals versus imperial ambition, military glory versus civic decay, discipline versus decadence. The chariot also speaks to individual figures. Julius Caesar, for instance, the man who crossed the Rubicon, not just literally but spiritually. He became the embodiment of the chariot's triumph, but also its inevitability. His victories brought Rome to its peak and to the edge of monarchy. Victory in tarot is never neutral. It carries karmic weight. And the chariot's forward motion comes with collateral cultures, erased identities, overwritten, and a growing pressure to maintain the myth of eternal supremacy. But there is beauty here too. The chariot shows us the awe-inspiring potential of human will. Rome unified vast regions, created unprecedented connectivity, language, trade, and law. Its roads connected continents. Its libraries preserved thought. Its presence reshaped time itself. Yet tarot always reminds us what drives you, if left unexamined, will one day drive you off a cliff. The chariot asks, are you in control or merely holding the reins of something already beyond you? Rome in its chariot raced forward. But the faster it moved, the less it remembered why it began. And so this card does not condemn, it simply asks, what do you chase when you already have everything? The tower upright, the collapse within. Rome did not fall in a single night. It unraveled. No invading army, no foreign blade, no external god could have destroyed the empire without the help of something far more intimate, rot from within. And in tarot, no card captures this silent decay, this cracking of the foundation beneath your own feet like the tower. In its essence, the tower is not destruction for drama's sake. It is revelation. It is the moment illusion burns away and only what is real remains. The lightning strikes, the crown falls. The structure that once stood as a monument now becomes a memory. For Rome, this meant more than crumbling aqueducts or looted villas. The real collapse happened long before the Visigoths breached the walls. It began in the Senate, where once honored debate turned to bribery and betrayal. It festered in emperors who no longer ruled but indulged. It echoed through a population slowly losing faith not in enemies, but in itself. The tower is the arrogance of thinking something built by human hands can stand forever. And Rome believed itself to be eternal. Its coins said so, its gods promised it, its poets sang of it. But tarot reminds us what is not tended to will fall no matter how grand.
And the fall was not one moment, but many.
Civil war after civil war, a military stretched thin, a currency devalued, power traded like a coin purse, spiritual confusion as old gods waned and new faiths rose. Leaders assassinated not by enemies but by their own guards. The very structures the emperor once built, now hollowed by absence. The tower reminds us collapse is not failure, it is awakening. It is the forceful removal of what no longer serves. It clears what has become stagnant, dead or corrupt. But if resisted, it becomes violent. In Rome's case, the resistance was immense. Every rebellion crushed every border, redrawn, every crisis met with temporary patchwork. But no empire, no matter how gilded, can escape the reckoning that comes when the people no longer believe and the center no longer holds. Still within the collapse's clarity, the tower does not erase meaning, it reveals it. It strips away identity to show essence. For Rome, that meant confronting its shadows, the oppression beneath its laws, the fragility of its overreach, the price of conquest on the soul of a nation. It is no accident that many ancient Roman ruins, once grand temples and forums, now lie exposed under open sky. Tarot would say they are not broken, they are honest. The tower leaves behind rubble, but also space. And so we ask, if Rome had listened to the tremors, sooner could the fall have been transformation instead. The tower answers without malice, only what was real would have survived anyway. Judgment upright, the echo of accountability.
After the collapse, what remains? Dust, perhaps. Silence. A name etched in forgotten stone. But sometimes what remains is a question, and it will not go away.
This is where judgment enters. Unlike the tower, which destroys, judgment awakens. It rises from ruin not to rebuild an empire, but to confront the truth of what it meant. It is the trumpet call over bones the moment the soul must answer for how it lived. Rome may have crumbled, but its shadow never left. Its systems, its art, its cruelty and brilliance linger in everything from our architecture to our politics. And so the tarot asks, what did the fall of Rome teach us? Did we listen? Judgment is the card of reckoning, not divine punishment, but conscious reflection. It says, here is what you created, can you face it? For Rome, the lesson was layered. A civilization so advanced, so ordered, so powerful, yet it forgot humility. It mistook domination for destiny and discipline for moral clarity. But the empire did not simply implode, it passed on. Its language, laws, and wounds became templates, some noble, others toxic. Judgment does not forgive or condemn, it watches, it holds up the mirror and waits for acknowledgement. And Rome, long after its emperors turned to dust, has become that mirror. Every modern nation that rises in Rome's image must ask, do we repeat their mistakes? Are our leaders seeking glory or service? Are we citizens or spectators? In this spread, judgment is not just for the empire, it is for us. It asks, will we glorify what was, or will we examine why it ended? Will we inherit only the greatness or also the blindness? There is hope in this card, because Judgment brings not only truth, but renewal. It suggests that from deep reckoning comes transformation, that a civilization willing to remember honestly may evolve instead of decay. For Rome, that honesty comes late, but it comes. Through historians, poets' ruins, and even this tarot reading, voices rise again, not to reclaim a throne, but to whisper,
learn or repeat.
Judgment stands like a colosseum without crowds, immense, empty, and echoing with the choices made inside. It's not a threat, it's an invitation.
Because no empire truly dies until we stop learning from it.
And no soul, whether personal or collective, is beyond redemption if it dares to face its own history. The world upright, what remains after the empire? There is an irony to greatness. Even when it falls, it doesn't truly vanish. The final card in this reading, the world, is not about endings in the way the tower or death might be. It is about completion, wholeness, the closing of a cycle so that something else might begin. And if there is one truth about the Roman Empire that history confirms, it is this: though the empire collapsed, Rome never left. The world appears not as a tombstone, but as a mosaic pieces of what was now part of something larger. This card speaks of legacy, of systems that outlive their creators, of languages, laws, and philosophies that continue to ripple through time.
Rome exists today, not in the form of legions or emperors, but in our architecture, our calendars, our ideas of citizenship and law. Our cities echo its street plans. Our universities teach its rhetoric. Our political structures mirror its Senate and Republic. Even the title Caesar still lives reborn in the words Kaiser and Tsar.
The world honors that kind of survival, not through power, but through influence.
In tarot, the world is the final card of the major arcana, the resolution of a long journey. The fool begins in innocence, the emperor builds, the chariot races, the tower falls, judgment calls. And now, with the world, we arrive. Not at an empire's end, but at its absorption into the collective soul.
Rome no longer rules, but it is remembered. It has become a symbol, a cautionary tale, a source of inspiration and sometimes dangerous nostalgia. Its survival is not just historical, it's spiritual. It lingers in our collective psyche, reminding us of what humans are capable of, both gloriously and tragically. But the world is not just for looking back. It also asks, what do we do with what we've inherited? Do we use the wisdom or repeat the hubris? Do we build new structures of justice or recreate old hierarchies under new names? Do we remember Rome for its roads, its thinkers, its vision, or for its chains, its conquests, its blind ambition? The world says the cycle is complete. Now, choose how the next one begin. In this reading, the world doesn't celebrate the empire, it consecrates the transformation. Rome became more than a place, it became a pattern. And tarot, in its wisdom, doesn't romanticize that, it simply acknowledges it. If the emperor marked the rise and the tower the fall, then the world is the breath afterward. The recognition that even empires, like people, can evolve through memory. Rome did not survive by holding power, it survived by becoming story. And now that story is in our hands. The cards have spoken not in marble proclamations or war cries, but in quiet truths that outlived empires. From the emperor, we learn that Rome was not born of chaos, but of intention. It was an architecture of control and legacy. Through the Chariot, we witnessed the burning drive to conquer, to stretch across lands and time, even as the soul of the empire strained behind the Chariot's reins. With the tower, we stood among the rubble not of walls, but of ideals. We saw how decay begins from within. Through Judgement, we heard the echo of history, demanding more than remembrance, demanding reckoning. And with the world we understood that Rome did not die, it dissolved into the collective, became myth, mirror, and monument. This was not just a reading of a fallen empire, it was a reflection on human nature, on how greatness is built, distorted, tested, and transformed. Because somewhere within each of us there is an empire rising, a structure of beliefs, a pursuit of ambition, a fear of vulnerability, a longing for legacy. The story of Rome told through tarot is not just history, it is a pattern, a parable, a path walked again and again by nations, by leaders, by individuals. So perhaps the real question isn't how Rome fell, it's what are we building now? And will we be wise enough to hear the warning in its walls before they crumble again? The deck closes, the empire rests, but the lesson remains.